Hello, my dear friends. Today is May 1st, 2026, in the year of the Lord. I'm here today to share a dream. I cannot call this dream a prophetic dream, but I can call this dream a dream that it's going to make an impact, given the fact of the disclosure that they are, little by little, they're already dropping upon us. And we're going to see a lot about this disclosure. And that's part of the reason I'm sharing this dream, because of the upcoming disclosure that has already started. I'm seeing in my dream this guy, David Wilcock, which before I get into the dream, I just would like to make this very clear. I did not know this guy. I never followed any of his videos. I was not someone who actually followed any of his research or the UFO or the extraterrestrial or any of this ancient knowledge, ancient wisdom, or esoteric things that he was into. I never watched, so I didn't even know about the guy up until the moment that he died on April 20th. And after that, the social media was actually bombarded by his videos, and that's how I came across to get to know who this guy is. Now, knowing me, I actually wanted to pray, because that's how I am. I wanted to pray to the Lord to share with me whether this is a psychological game, because there is a war on our minds, psychological game, or a psyop that they are playing, or information that they're dropping upon us, or what's going on, or if there's any truth behind this, or it's just something that they are trying to implant information in our minds. So in order for me to be able to discern, I prayed about this. So the Lord gave me a dream, and in this dream, David Wilcock was in the dream. Now, obviously, all my dreams, I actually usually see them in the spirit. So I either exit in the spirit and I visit these places, or I will see the information in the spirit. That's how I receive every other information, revelation. Not information. When it comes to me accessing it in the spirit, it's a revelation. When it comes to me accessing it in, like in the open, that's like information, basically, in the body. In my dream, in the spirit, I am entering this lab that looks like a house in the outside, but inside it's a lab. So when people pass by and they look at this place from the outside, they think that it's a regular house. But in fact, inside it is a lab, okay? It's a research lab, okay? And this research lab was dark. It did not have any lights turned down. So I'm in the spirit, I'm in this lab that didn't have any lights, but I'm seeing right in the middle of the lab, there is a snake-shaped river running in the middle of the lab that had water, and underneath the water, just about 7 to 10 feet beneath the water, it had a lot of tubes, a lot of, not wires, like hoses, okay? Because they were about like 2-inch to 3-inch, like this, thick hoses. They were running all over, and there were too many to count. And this was all in the water, in that snake-shaped river, which was centered in the middle of the lab. I'm seeing David Wilcock standing in this water, okay? And he had one of those hoses holding in his hand up in the air like this. And he was questioning, because I was in the spirit, I was able to read his thoughts and also observe everything that was going on within him, okay? And the fact that he was very much questioning how that hose was cut, because he was in anxiety. His mental state, it was not he was not in the right mind for him to think clearly, but he was very much scared, and he was questioning how was this even possible, that I would say hose, or whatever it is, the tube that he was holding, that was flexible, okay, it was cut. So I am seeing that he was questioning that, because I'm also seeing that he thought he was untouchable. He thought he was untouchable, so he was so scared, so afraid that how come this was even possible for this hose to be cut. And that's where his mental confusion was coming from, okay? That's what I'm seeing in my dream. And I'm also seeing the things that he was holding in his heart, and the fact that behind him there was another section of this lab that had a very long counter, kind of like the labs, the chemistry labs. They have their stuff on there that they actually experiment, the chemistry labs. It was the same. It was like that type of a long counter that has a white fluorescent light running across, and that portion of the lab they used it to experiment stuff. Okay, follow what I'm saying, because this, I'm seeing in the spirit, but I do know that this is a real place in life. Okay, so I'm just accessing it in my spirit. Now, of course, after I saw this and I saw how he was in anxiety and paranoid and so much scared, questioning that he was untouchable, and all of a sudden this hose was cut, I didn't want to see anything further. I got all the revelation, whatever I needed, and then I exited the lab. So I'm going to talk about the revelation and the information that I had access to when I was in the lab. I didn't see him die or something. I just, after I saw what I saw, I just exited. I just want to say, my dear friends, that this has to do, this guy, I went down, I did my own research, and I found out that this guy was part of the secret space program research. Okay, he was part of that group, and I don't know whether he was a scientist or not, but usually they went into research about the ancient wisdom, knowledge, esoteric information, extraterrestrials, UFOs, ETs, so on and so forth. This is what he was into. Okay, so when I'm seeing that this lab, that it's a lab, but from the outside it's a house, it's showing that this is a secret, space program. It's secret. It's not in the open, so it's hidden from people's eyes. The snake-shaped river, which is a man-made shape, obviously, because it's not in the open, it's not in the nature, and it's not created by God. The snake-shaped represents the fact that this information revelation has to do with the seed of the serpent. The seed of the serpent that I've explained on many, many different videos in Genesis chapter 3, verse 15. There is the seed of the woman, which is the immovable race of humanity, those who give testimony to Jesus Christ. And there is the seed of the serpent. Okay? So the snake is the seed of the serpent, which means this technology, information, whatever they are holding on to in secret, has to do with the seed of the serpent. Okay? The water, as we know in Revelation chapter 17, verse 15, says it represents multitude people's languages. So the fact that this was a river, snake-shaped river, it means there is only certain group of people from whatever language they are, okay, or from whatever nation they are, they actually also have access to this certain group of people. Understand what I'm saying? To this information about the seed of the serpent. And I'm coming to that. I'm going to give the explanation. And the tubes that were within the water, because it means they're sitting on this information, secret information. The tubes represented, that's the information I received, that's the revelation I received, is each tube, each hose represented information and technology that is hidden from us, that we do not know about. Okay, so different types of information and different type of technology. That's what I'm seeing. That's what it represented. The hose that David was holding in his hand, and he just could not believe that it was cut. That was his lifeline, my dear friend. And he actually thought that they could not touch him. They won't be able to get to him. But the fact that it was cut, it means, his lifeline was cut. Okay? You can take it to the Lord and he will explain to you exactly what it means. Of course, from the outside looks like a regular house, but inside it's the lab. This actually represents the secret space program place. Okay? And David, being in that water, he was part of this program researcher. Now, I don't know whether he was a scientist or not, but he was part of them. Okay? Because he was in the water. That's what it means. And he was involved in many different things. That's part of the reason I'm also seeing that other side of the lab, that it had a long counter with equipment that they do experiment and research on it. Let me come to what is this? It is UFOs, extraterrestrials, so on and so forth. My dear friends, number one, I have done a very simple video before about these extraterrestrials, and I've explained that there are three parts. There is the terrestrial body, which is us. We have a terrestrial body. I'm indigenous to this earth. This is a terrestrial body. And there is the celestial, which are the benevolent, the angels, and they do have some divine power. They have, not some, they have divine powers because they are celestial, okay? And there are those that it's recorded about them in the book of Revelation, chapter 12, verses 7 to 9, where the devil, Archangel Michael had a fight, or had a war with the devil. He was cast out, he was thrown to earth, and that's why it says, woe unto those who live on earth, for the devil has come down with the fury. So he's been cast out of heaven during the war, so he came down here on earth. Now, my dear friends, the devil, of course, when it's coming from above, he was part of that celestial body. He took 1/3 of the angels with him. We also have another book, which is the book of Enoch, that explains very much in detail about the 200 watchers, that they came on Mount Hermon, and they did not keep their orders that was given to them in heaven, and the responsibility that God gave them to watch over humanity. But it says in Genesis chapter 6 verse 4 that the sons of God saw the daughters of women were beautiful, so they came and they intermarried, they married, so they had children, and now the Nephilim, which are called also aka giants, were here on earth. These giants, my dear friends, are the offsprings of the fallen angels. This is in the word of the Lord, but I want you to know that it was taken out of the Bible, so it was never something that your pastor, my father at church, or anybody gave us explanation, or we had any sermons to teach us about this. Do they exist? They absolutely exist. And when it came to this, Genesis chapter 6 was very little talked about, and they tried to skip it because it's mentioned in there, in our word of the Lord. These, my dear friends, are the ones when they intermingled, they married daughters of men and had children. These are the extraterrestrials. So there are the celestial and terrestrials. Now these are the ones in the middle from the second heaven, the extraterrestrials. The fact that I'm seeing this dream, the fact that I am seeing that there is hidden information, that certain group of people are sitting on it, and it's going to be disclosed, which is, it started to, it started for them to disclose. It's going to come in the open, and we're going to know about this in the open. Of course, those of us who have done their research very well, that they know, like J.D. Vance, our vice president, mentioned that these are nothing but demons. I don't know if any of you saw that. And remember in my prophetic dream that I said, the third one, where in there J.D. Vance turned into this exorcist priest. And we all know what exorcist priests do. They actually command the demons to come out of the possessed body. So we are going to learn about these, the existence of the seed of the serpent, which are the extraterrestrials, that they intermingled, they played with our DNA. And the same things that you read in the book of Enoch, if you read it today, it still exists. And the world is going to go into shock when they find a lot of these things, not a fairy tale story, but the reality, okay? So these are the ones, they call themselves elites, they control the world, so on and so forth, and they look at us as cattle. And believe it or not, just like in the old days, the Nephilim did feed on people, humans. That's what they still do today, and that's what it's going to come out with a lot of technology, a lot of hidden information. And that's part of the reason I'm sharing this dream with all of you. My dear friends, stay rooted and grounded in Christ. I love you all with the love of Christ. Stay blessed. Until next time.